Hey, what's up guys? It's your girl A.Simone back at it again with another video. So as you saw by the title of this video, guys, this is it. This is the season finale of P-Valley season 2. This is it. This is the last hoorah for the season. We are officially wrapping things up. So guys, I already recorded this video once and the file got completely messed up. It was literally like an hour and like 17 minutes. It was a lot. So I'm definitely gonna try to cut it down this second time around. But yeah, when I watched it last night, I was watching 15 minutes at a time and I was recording after each 15 minutes. So you were getting my live reaction. So typically when I record, I just watch the whole thing and then come on here and tell you guys. But yeah, I still have my notes from when I watched it. So let's go ahead and get into it and try to cut this a little bit shorter. Okay guys, so this episode opens up with 3 people on the screen. We have Andre, we have his wife, and we have Autumn in the middle. So they're arguing, they're going at it. Autumn looks out the window because she sees people gathering in the street and she's like, oh, the results must be coming in soon. People are outside. So Andre tells Autumn, go outside and wait for me. Autumn turns to him and gives him a stank face, kind of like, oh, you're going to stay back here and try to talk to your wife or try to work it out. And remember, Andre's wife cheated on him in his house, in his bed with another worker from the emergency room. So Autumn's reaction to that was, you're going to stay back here and try to have a conversation with your cheating wife. She was over it. Like, she is completely like etched Andre's wife like out of her memory. Like, she doesn't care at all, even though they are still legally married. He just hasn't been back to kind of talk things out. They're legally married. They're not divorced. They're not separated. They're not really separated, even though he's not at the house. They're just kind of going through it because she cheated. So they're in there talking and they're going back and forth, and the wife is like, where did we go wrong? How did we get to this point? And Andre says, we might have went wrong the day we got married or the day we met each other. Kind of saying that maybe they weren't really compatible. Maybe they were just both a successful black man and a black woman, and they thought they should be together. And then they have a conversation about Andre's father being in jail and he's a felon, and why he lied about that. And he said, I lied to you because you know, would you have married me, or would you, have fallen for me if you knew the history of what my father was? So they're talking and she jumps up and she was like, are you trying to divorce me? And he's like, nah, it's not like, no, he was like, we're both in love with other people. He's saying he's in love with Autumn and she's in love with the guy that she smashed from, the emergency room, the other, healthcare worker. So she jumps up because she's like, are you trying to divorce me? Like, she kind of gets scared at the talk or the thought of divorce, even though everything that's happened. And then Andre says, oh, where I've been wearing a mask this whole time, and, are you going to like who you see when I take the mask off? Okay, guys, so next we get back to the Pink. Little Murder is in the back. He is preparing his thoughts to go back on stage. Remember last episode, Little Murder's crew and Maine's crew got into it. They separated everybody, got everybody out in the parking lot. So now Little Murder is officially going to go back on stage and perform again. Remember, he was performing with Tina Snow. She ran off on the plug. It got crazy. Like I said, this was her first time in Chuckalisa, her first time coming to the Pink. She was visiting because of Little Murder, their song, and them going on tour together. So when the fight broke out, she ran off on the plug and she's gone. She's on a flight back to Houston or whatever. She was out of that joint. So now Little Murder is going to go back out into the crowd and finish his set performing at the club now that everything has calmed down and they separated the two crews. So Little Murder goes back out there. He starts freestyling the beginning of the song, and then when the beat drops, guess who comes on stage with him? Mercedes comes out there. She's popping, dropping that thing, throwing it in a circle. And guess who also comes back into the crowd? Maine. So Maine comes from the parking lot. He makes his way back in there. He's nice and quiet. He's cool, calm, and collected because he's just checking out the scene. So Little Murder, he's performing a song. I think the song is called 7 Pounds of Pressure. That's what they're saying on the hook. Pretty much saying this is what it takes to pull the trigger of a gun. And it seems like he's directed this towards Maine. Maine is in the crowd the whole entire time. He's cool, calm, and collected. Because like I said, they just got the fighting. So he's not trying to, go for a round 2 and really get messed up by Diamond or security by fighting again. So yeah, he's looking up at Little Murder. Little Murder is kind of sending that 7 pounds of pressure to him. Now, mind you, the last episode, Mercedes and Maine were out in the crowd watching Keyshawn dance. And Mercedes told Maine, a chick You know, sometimes she just got to be out here in the crowd. I ain't got to be up on that pole. I'm not going to be up on that pole like I used to. So for Mercedes to come pop, lock, and dropping it on the stage with Little Murder, you have to understand that really is kind of throwing Maine off. Because it's like, you just told me when Keyshawn was on the stage, you weren't going to be on the stage anymore that much. So how within, you know, however much time you on stage dropping it like it's hot with Little Murder? So now Maine is really kind of taken aback, because how is Mercedes up on stage with Little Murder, who is my enemy? Okay, guys, so now we get the mayor results in. Guys, guess who won the mayor election? Pastor Woodbine. I told y'all. Remember I told y'all last week, on last week's episode, when Andre was in the club, strip club, celebrating, all of his team were taking shots. They were too happy, go lucky. I told you it was gonna be some salt in the game. I told y'all Andre was not gonna win. They were too excited last week, taking shots, and this was before the results were in. They were pre-celebrating a win that they didn't end up getting. So Pastor Woodbine gets, she's officially the new mayor. So all of the people are gathered outside Andre's house. We got the news reporters. Andre gives a speech and he says, hey, you know, I may not win the election, but I am going to do what I can for Chuckalisa. He announces that he's going to open up a law firm. So guys, this whole entire time, I never realized what Andre did. Remember in season 1, he was trying to get this casino deal signed, but I never realized what his actual job title was. So it seems that he is a lawyer and he's going to start his own law firm. So it seems he works up under another law firm now. So yeah, he's out there and he's standing next to his wife. So it seems like he's going to try to push this husband and wife image, because he never pushed that running for the campaign. Okay guys, so now we have Miss Ernestine. She is back home. She is back home. But yeah, when Little Murder and Mercedes, they come off stage, they see Uncle Clifford crying. And remember in the last preview of the last episode, we saw Uncle Clifford crying and we thought it was going to be bad news. So the news is that she's actually getting to come home. So guys, on this show, like I said, they always give you twists and turns. If you see somebody crying, you think it's one thing, but really it's another thing. If you see somebody laughing, you think it's one thing. So this show always gives you twists and turns. So you always have to look out for that. So when, yeah, so they see Uncle Clifford crying, and we find out that Ernestine is coming home. Okay, so the next scene we have Little Murder and Clifford laying in bed together. They chilled together and did that thing that night. So they're laying in bed together, and Murder brings up the tour. So Clifford is kind of taken aback, because he's like, oh, you are still going to go on this tour. Now, remember the last episode, Clifford was playing nonchalant, like, oh, I know this wasn't going to be forever, so go ahead and do your thing. And now this episode, when Murder mentions the tour, like for real, he's like, oh, you're really going to go. So Clifford is kind of taken aback, because they've been spending this time together, really falling for each other. So I guess he thought that he was going to switch up and not go on the tour. But it seems like what Clifford was thinking about, you know, this being a on the low situation, it seems like that's what it's going to be, and he is going to go out here and go on this tour. So they're talking whatever, and Uncle Clifford tells Little Murder, like, you're different. The way you make people feel on stage, you are meant, and you're going to be a superstar. And he tells Murder, you're going to make it. So he gives him this positive confirmation, just how he feels about Murder, about him being a great performer, and says that you're going to make it. So Little Murder sits up in the bed, and he says, you know, well, what about if I tell the world who I really am? So Uncle Clifford kind of stops him in his tracks and says, no, you're just at the beginning of your career. You cannot tell people that, you know, you are in fact gay, because they're not going to accept it. The world we live in, they judge, you know, the LGBT community. You cannot do this. They're going to use this against you, and your career will be ruined. But you can see on Little Murder's face, he is like going through it. He's really contemplating, like, I don't want to live this lie anymore. And it seems like Uncle Clifford has helped him get to this point, as he's been spending all this time and falling in love with Uncle Clifford. So when you look at this scene, you can see on his face, like, he is really serious. Like, he's not playing, he's not laughing, he's not joking around. He really wants to stop living this lie, and especially for Clifford and also for himself. So Uncle Clifford says, nah, go ahead and do your thing. He says, you know, Ernestine is going to be home soon, so you ain't got to be here. So little Murder gets up, he goes into the bathroom, he kind of slams the door because he's kind of pissed off that Uncle Clifford is kind of like pushing him out of the way. Okay, so next we have Pastor Woodbine. She's officially the new mayor that's going to be sworn in as a mayor, and she's inside the office. She's throwing out the other guy's stuff, the white man who's the mayor. She's slamming his stuff, ripping his posters off the wall, saying there's a new sheriff in town. And so next we have a TV interview with Pastor Woodbine, and Mercedes is watching from her house. And we find out that the casino referendum got approved. So when you vote for like a lot of things. When you go and vote on a ballot, whether it's for your city or for the presidency, you vote for the main things, but then they have all these little things under it that you vote for as well. So when it comes to the referendum, even though she's the mayor, the people still had to vote on that. That had nothing to do with her being the mayor, that she made that decision. It seems like the people, they want this casino to come through. They're thinking it's going to be a blessing, it's going to be money flow, it's going to be a good thing. So Pastor Woodbine, she was running against the casino the whole time. Remember, she's a pastor, so gambling, drinking, all those things, those are like bad things in the Bible. Those are worldly things. And, you know, a person of God, you're not supposed to do those things. So she was running on not breaking the casino because it was a sin and it's bad, but the people ended up passing it anyway. Okay, so the next thing, Mercedes, she gets a delivery at her door, and it's a big box, and it's posters from the pictures that Farrah took of Mercedes, and she also looks in a smaller envelope, and it's a check for $30,000. So she gives Farrah a call, and Farrah lets her know, this is the money I made on the back end from using your pictures at the exhibit. So the exhibit went really well, and people purchased a lot of the artwork. So Mercedes ended up getting $30,000 off the back end. So that's a lot of money. Now we all know art is, you know, expensive, it's valuable. You see Jay-Z and Beyonce talking about $1 million art. But yeah, so Mercedes got a $30,000 check just from Farrah using her pictures. And Farrah tells her, you know, hey, we as women, we can be independent, we can do our own thing, right? And then Mercedes like, yeah, I'll holler at you later, you know, take care. So it seems like Mercedes is still pushing Farrah out. Remember last episode I told you guys, Farrah might be a blessing for Mercedes, even though it was sexual and she doesn't want that. But Farrah is a smart, successful black businesswoman, and she can help Mercedes get out of the pole. Like, this woman has a business sense, she's smart, and she can help you make real business moves. But it seems like Mercedes just keeps shutting her down because she keeps looking at her from the sexual aspect. But Farrah is a smart woman. Like, she's not a predator, she's not a creep. So even though she does have attraction to Mercedes, if it's all business, I feel like Farrah is going to respect that and keep it all business. And I don't know why Mercedes can't see this blessing in disguise from Farrah. Okay, so the next thing, we have people outside of Andre's house. So they're lining up, they're giving him food and gifts. So I guess this is something that they do in the South. Even though he lost the election, people are paying their respects. So they're showing up with food, with different food platters and stuff. And we have Autumn in the line, and she shows up with a thing of cigars. So she likes a cigar, and Andre's wife is standing on the porch. So Autumn kind of rolls her eyes at her because it seems like the wife is going to try to work it out with Andre. So Autumn asked Andre if he's really staying in Chucalissa to do this law firm. He was like, yeah, Chucalissa is my home. Even though I left to go pursue my career, this is my home, and I do love this place. And, you know, I think I could come here and make a difference. So, so Autumn, you know, so after Autumn gives him his cigar, she walks off, and Andre asks Autumn, what did you have to tell me last night? Remember when they left early from the Pank, after Andre gave his speech on the stage? They left because Autumn said, I have something to tell you, let's get out of here. And that's when they went home and found the wife sitting in his house, and she surprised them. So remember the last episode, or the episode earlier, Autumn ran to the bathroom to throw up, and it seems like she had some morning sickness. So it seems like she may be expecting a baby. So Autumn tells Andre, you know, we don't have to say words. You know, we've always been physical, and, you know, we've always made it work. So don't worry about it. That's what she pretty much tells Andre. Okay, so next, when Autumn walks off after she talks to Andre, she gets a phone call from the rich white woman. Remember, this is the woman that Autumn went to try to get this $10 million. So she's on the phone with the white woman and she says, I'm not feeling 10 anymore. I want 15. So the white woman says, well, honey, you should have took the 5 million. Remember when she was in the salon, she dropped it. She offered her 5 million as her last and final offer. So the woman says, well, you're not going to get a dime because you didn't take the 5 million. And guess what? We don't need the strip club anymore. And Autumn is like, what are you talking about? She says you have to build the casino on a waterfront property. And she was like, not when you can bring the water to you. So she hangs up the phone. She calls Autumn the B word. She says, by which Autumn is standing there with her mouth on the floor because this money she was trying to get for the club, trying to get for herself, trying to get for Uncle Clifford, this deal has fell through. So the white woman picks up a newspaper, and on the front page of the newspaper it says Mayor Woodbine, and it says Corbin's company is building a canal. So they're gonna bring the water to the casino. So guys, remember last episode when Uncle Clifford put up with Corbin and he was outside messing with that water thing? So that's what happened, guys. This company hired Corbin's company to build a canal. So they're going to dig and bring the water to the casino. So Autumn is not going to get any money, guys. Autumn is not going to get any money. And the white woman tells her, if you would have took that 5 million, that would have went through and you would have got the money for that. And it's pretty much would have been, she's pretty much saying that like there wouldn't have been nothing I could have did. You just would have gotten a free 5 million. Or maybe, you know, they would have tried to get it back. Or maybe she just would have let it go. Maybe she would have even tripped off of it. She would just let the 5 million go. But yeah, Autumn is not going to get any money, guys. Okay, so now Grandma Ernestine is officially home. She comes home and she walks into the house and she says, it smells like a bussy in here. If you don't know what bussy is, this is a gay term used amongst gay men, and it stands for boy vagina. So Uncle Clifford is like, girl, you tripping. Your nose is tripping because of that COVID. Now, mind you, him and Lil Murder been up in there getting it in. So it probably does smell like sex all over the house. So next thing we get a knock on the door and it's Big L. So Clifford is looking like, what the heck you doing here at my house, let alone at the job? I fired you. So we find out that Ernestine has hooked up with Big L to plan a party. So Ernestine just got out the hospital from COVID. Uncle Clifford is going off like, how are you going to be around all these people throwing a party when you just got out from COVID? But Ernestine says, I'm still alive and I'm still kicking, and I'm going to throw a players ball. I'm going to throw this big celebration to get, you know, the respect and the love that I never really feel like I got back in the day, you know, before I, you know, before I got older and I'm just sticking home, you know, with you. So Uncle Clifford is mad. It's like, yo, like, why are you around all these people? But Ernestine, she's like, you know what? You know, old people, they be stuck in their ways. She's like, I don't care. I'm still alive. I'm still kicking. I'm going to do what I want to do before I leave this earth. And Grandma Ernestine, she's going upstairs and she's going to change her underwear because she's been in the hospital. She's like, honey, I gotta take a shower. I gotta take these drawers off. And then we have Uncle Clifford's mom. She comes to him in a vision. So Uncle Clifford goes downstairs. He's talking to his mom's spirit. And he tells her, you're not going to get Grandma Ernestine. Because remember, the first time we got introduced to the mom was in a throwback scene. And then the next scene, we seen the mother come to Ernestine calling her home, meaning calling her to heaven. And that's what Ernestine told her. It's not my time yet, honey. Go on back. So now we're seeing the mother again in a vision. And Uncle Clifford is telling the mom, you're not going to keep coming here trying to take Grandma Ernestine from me. So the mama tells Uncle Clifford, I'm not here for her. I'm here for you. So the mom says, why do you keep pushing love away? Referring to Little Murder. So Uncle Clifford tells his mama, well, love killed you. And the mama goes, love didn't kill me, a virus did. So guys, remember I told you, I think that Uncle Clifford's mom, she was a teenage mom, and it seems like she passed away young, because it seems like Ernestine has been raising Uncle Clifford for a long time. So it seems like that she may have had the HIV/AIDS virus, and it seems like this may have been like the 80s or the 90s when it was really brand new to the world. So she says, love didn't kill me, a virus killed me, and I made that choice. So it seems like she's, in this scene, guys, she's not really pointing the finger at, it seems like she was involved with a man. This man was cheating and messing around, and it seems like he gave her the virus. But in this situation, guys, she's taking the blame. She's taking it to the chest. She's not blaming the man or saying, hey, this man did me dirty. She says, I made a choice and I ended up catching this virus. So I don't know what this situation is about. I don't know if this was a man she was messing with maybe on the side. Maybe he was married. Maybe this wasn't a typical relationship. That she says, I made a choice. So it seems like she's kind of taking the blame. The fact that, she ended up passing away so early. But she's pretty much telling Uncle Clifford to follow love. Don't let this slip out of your hands. And yeah, okay. So next we have Keyshawn. Keyshawn pulls up into a parking lot, and we see a bus, and we see Little Murder's. So this is Little Murder's tour bus. Remember in the last preview we saw a bus. We thought it was Keyshawn like getting on like a Greyhound, but no. Keyshawn has her own car. She has a new car that Autumn ended up hooking her with so she can get away. So they meet in the parking lot, and Little Murder gives her a Louis bag with money in it. So this is the money that he owes her from the tour. Remember, the tour got stopped because Rome was trying to, push up on Keyshawn. So Keyshawn ended up leaving. But Little Murder still owed her the money for, the tour. So yeah. So she gets her money and then she pulls off in the car. So the next thing we have Mercedes. She's in her studio and she's practicing or whatever. And then we have Pastor Woodbine showing up. So we have not seen Pastor Woodbine or Mercedes really have a conversation or link up at all this whole entire season. Remember everything that happened last season when she totally screwed Mercedes over. So yeah, they have not even had a real conversation this whole entire season. So she stops by the studio and she says that she's visiting small business owners in the city now that she's mayor. So Mercedes has a strip pole in there, and Pastor Woodbine asks her, why do you have a strip pole? I thought this is going to be for you teaching teenage girls to dance, young girls to dance. She was like, no, I'm not doing that now. Now I'm going to do pole dance classes. So Mercedes has switched up her game plan for what she was going to do in the studio. So Pastor Woodbine tells Mercedes that I got a phone call on the hotline last night for prayer, and it was Shell. Shell says she's going to rehab, and that she's going to try to get her life together, and that she needs forgiveness. So this whole entire season, Shell has been drunk. Terica has been sneaking out, driving the car, and Shell has been going through it. She's been out of work because of the pandemic, and she's been drinking herself. She's been drinking away her sorrows. So Pastor Woodbine said that last night Shell called in and asked for forgiveness and says that she's going to officially be going to rehab to get her life together. And guys, this whole scene was really, really dope because they were talking to each other with, respect. They weren't yelling and screaming. They weren't being disrespectful to each other. And we haven't really seen them have a conversation the whole entire season, just based off last season. And we know that Mercedes hates this woman's guts based on how she's done her whole life. So this scene was a real, dope and touching scene because they were having, this sentimental moment without coming at each other's throats. So, yeah. So Pastor Woodbine tells Mercedes that Shell asks her to watch Terica. And Pastor Woodbine gets close to Mercedes and says, I can't do that because I've already raised my daughter. So she pretty much tells Mercedes, now it's your turn to actually get this opportunity. And the camera pans around and we have Terica standing there with her bags. So they run and they hug each other. And yeah, guys, this was a real dope scene. We haven't seen Pastor Woodbine or Mercedes even interact this whole season. And the time they do, they're talking to each other with respect, with a sense of being sentimental. And we find out that Shell is going to rehab, and she wanted Pastor to watch Terica, but the pastor says, no, I've raised my daughter. I'm going to hand this over to Mercedes so she can raise her daughter. So that was a really dope scene. Okay, guys, so the next thing we have Autumn is in the office talking to Uncle Clifford. So she tells Uncle Clifford, hey, this $5 million, $10 million I was trying to get, it did not go through. So she shows Uncle Clifford the newspaper where Corbin is going to be building for the casino. And so remember last week, guys, when they met up and they linked up, I thought they were linking up to get at Pastor Woodbine, which they tried to bribe her, but I thought that was what they were doing. It seems like it was more to it. It seems like Uncle Clifford already knew what Corbin was going to do with this deal, and that the strip club was going to be saved. So he hands Autumn a check and tells her to get up out of here. He hands her a $250,000 check. Remember the last episode, guys, Corbin was in the Paradise room and he wanted to get his freak on. So he said, I'm willing to pay $250K. Remember, I told you guys, I thought that Corbin was joking, but he was just being silly. I didn't really think he was going to pay Uncle Clifford $250,000 just to beat his tail. But he had been fiending for it, guys, that long. Because of COVID, the strip club, everything had been shut down. So Corbin was not able to get his rocks off. So he ended up paying Uncle Clifford $250,000 to get freaky in the boom boom room. So he really wrote him a check. So Uncle Clifford hands Autumn the check and tells her to get the heck up out of here. He tells her to skedaddle. So he's over it. He's officially bought his club back from Autumn. And Autumn says, are you really going to trust Corbin? Now, Corbin and Uncle Clifford had always been cool. People in the comment section were saying that they think that they're brothers. But remember, Corbin is a side baby. His mama was messing around with the white man. His mama was a maid. So there's no way that I feel like there's no way Uncle Clifford and him could be brothers unless, I don't know. There's no way I feel like they can be brothers. So people are kind of confused on their relationship. But remember, Uncle Clifford and him grew up together on some elementary school, playing out in the sandbox. So that's the story that they told us in season 1. That him and Uncle Clifford, they're just really cool. They grew up together. They were born and raised in Chucalissa, and that's really what their relationship is. They've always been cool. They've always had respect for each other. So yeah, he hands Autumn the check and tells her to get the heck up out of here. Autumn says, do you think you could trust Corbin? Why are you so mad at me? Any of your strippers in here would have did the same thing. Uncle Clifford looks her in her face and says, nah, they got loyalty. They got loyalty and they got love for me. They would have never snitched me out, up the river like you did. And Autumn tells him, okay, yeah, this is $250,000, but I've done a lot in the pandemic. You owe me more money than this. You actually owe me interest on this $250K. So next thing we see Big L and Diamond pull up. And they said, wait a minute, we caught a whole body for you. That is your interest. So he hands her the check. She talk about interest. Big L tells her, we caught a whole body for you, girl. We took out a whole entire man in your defense. That is your interest. You better get the heck up out of here. So they pretty much kick her out of the office, tell her to skedaddle. And yeah, she walks out slow, looking, mean and mad. But yeah, they're over it. Okay, so the next thing we have Keyshawn. Keyshawn goes to the stepmother's and her stepsister's house because that's where the kids have been watched. So remember, she's setting up this whole situation to leave. So she has somebody else babysitting the kids now that Derek has a job. So she can just go pick up the kids and just leave without Derek knowing. So she gets to the door. The stepmother opens the door. She says she calls Derek and tells him how cute the kids are. And Derek comes and picks up the kids. So the stepsister is standing on the steps and she has a stupid look on her face. So it seems like the stepsister snitched and let the stepmom call Derek to come pick up the kids. So I was real confused by this scene, guys. I don't know why she snitched on Keyshawn like that. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that she's jealous. She's still at home with her mama and she doesn't want Keyshawn to leave the city and live a better life. She wants Keyshawn to be stuck and struggling. That's the only thing I could come up with to why she would purposely let the mama call Derek to come pick up the kids and mess up the whole plan. Why would you do that to Keyshawn when she's trying to get away? So for me, I'm just going to call jealousy. That's the only thing I can think of to why she purposely did that. Okay, so now Keyshawn gets back to the house. She can't leave. She can't leave that day and do what she wants to do. She gets back to the house. There's a police officer and there's a white woman in her house. Derek is sitting on the ground playing with the kids. The white woman says she is from CPS. So she says, remember when Keyshawn had that appointment and the kid had bruises on him? She said, yeah, that happened. But also somebody called and said that they heard screams from the house. So Derek says that somebody called, one of the neighbors called, and as soon as Keyshawn got back from tour, they start hearing screams. So Derek is completely full of it. This is something that he totally set up, because remember what he said. He says when she was on tour, everything was fine. The day she got back from the tour, he says that the neighbors heard screaming in the house. So he totally set this up to set Keyshawn up. So the next thing you know, guys, Keyshawn goes off. She runs over there throws Derek down on the couch, starts beating his tail on the couch. Next thing you know, the police officer throws Keyshawn down on the ground and handcuffs her. So like I said, this is CPS. This is Child Protective Services. So they send somebody from the office, and then they send, I guess, a police officer for protection. So yeah, so Derek totally made up this whole situation about Keyshawn abusing the kids. And guys, this just really kind of put a light on like domestic violence situation, because it's just a weird dynamic. And I actually heard somebody say this a couple weeks ago, like on a podcast or something I was watching. And they said in domestic violence situations, it's about control. And this scene really summed that up perfectly, because why would you try to get Keyshawn in trouble? Because look, remember, this whole entire time, Derek hasn't even been working or had a job. So why would you try to set up Keyshawn out of just being pissed off? Why would you call Child Protective Services on the mother of your kids? It's just a weird dynamic when it comes to domestic violence, how, you know, people act. And like I said, Derek, you just got a job. If Keyshawn was the breadwinner, so if you lock Keyshawn up on child abuse charges, you're not gonna be able to handle these kids on your own. You already crazy as it is. You're not gonna be able to be trying to work, trying to find a babysitter, and raising these kids on your own. It's just super weird. So Keyshawn goes off, guys, and gets thrown down to the ground and gets handcuffed. Okay, so the next thing we have, Mercedes pulls up to her house with Terica, and she introduces Maine to Terica. So Terica is looking at Maine with the googly eyes, and it's just kind of like, girl, what are you doing? This is a grown man. You're only 14. So that was a little iffy, and that was a little telling about how Terica is. So Mercedes tells Terica, go ahead, girl, go and get in the house. And Maine was like, wow, that's your daughter. And Mercedes was like, yeah, that's my daughter. So Maine ends up having a conversation with Mercedes, and he calls her out and saying, how are you on stage with Little Murder? You know that's my enemy. So Mercedes is laughing and giggling, and she's not realizing how serious Maine is. She's like, oh, we were just performing. We were just trying to make it, you know, trying to get the folks to make it rain. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. We got the club turned up. Like, you know, it's not that serious. But Maine is looking at her with a straight face, because it's like, you up there with my enemy. So it seems like you don't really F with me. It seems like you on his side. And Mercedes is like, nah, it ain't that deep. But Maine is dead serious. Like, he's not playing. This street beef is serious to him. So he's really pissed off that Mercedes was up there with Little Murder after he just told her that she wasn't gonna be on the pole that much. So so Maine drops the F-bomb. He says, you better stop messing around with that F word. And Mercedes like, you better stop talking about Uncle Clifford. And Maine said, that's not the F word I'm talking about. So, like I said, nobody... Okay, so Mercedes is confused, because Mercedes doesn't know about Little Murder being on the DL. So when Maine says that to her, she's looking in confusion, and you can see her face in the camera. She's like, wait a minute. Why did you call Little Murder an F word? Like, what's going on? Okay, so now we're at Ernestine's party. This is the players' ball. Everybody's out on the dance floor having a good time. And next thing you know, Clifford looks over and sees Little Murder. So Little Murder shows up to the party, and he's like, yo, like, I can't believe you're here. Like, what's going on? And he pretty much tells him, he was like, you know, so he was supposed to be leaving that day for tour, but he was like, it's cool. I wasn't going to miss Miss Ernestine's party. I wanted to show up and be there for you guys. Okay, so the next thing we have, guys, is we have We have Diamond, we have Big L, we have Big Bone. They're all sitting down eating a plate at the party. And Diamond gets a call. He answers the call. It says unknown. And it says, you have a call from correctional facility. So like I said, Keyshawn got thrown down to the ground by that police officer. So she got arrested pretty much for like assaulting a police officer. So we get a phone call from jail. And it's like, why is she calling Diamond to bail her out of jail? They really haven't been cool. If anybody, it seems like she would call Uncle Clifford. Uncle Clifford is the one who's always been there for all the girls. So she gets into a conversation, and guys, she asks Diamond the big question, can you go take Derek out? So I'm thinking she's calling Diamond for bail money, but no. She's calling Diamond saying, I couldn't get away, I couldn't get out. Rapunzel couldn't get out the castle. Can you please go take care of Derek? So guys, this is what we have been wanting this whole entire season. So remember in season 1, we found out about Keyshawn being abused. We found out that her boyfriend was white. And then remember when they got the fighting on murder night and she pulled out the gun, Diamond and Derek were wrestling for a gun. So they were fighting, wrestling each other, and the gun was down on the ground. So if Diamond would have got that gun that night, he would have more than likely took Derek out on the spot that night. But that's what they were wrestling for, and that's when he got broke up when Keyshawn pulled out a gun. So it seems like on murder night in season 1, it would have got handled because they got the fighting because Derek called him a gutter N-word, a gutter Negro. So yeah, so this whole season, we finally got a deep dive into how Derek really is. So season 1, we really didn't hate Derek because we really didn't have that much information. We just knew that Keyshawn was going through a messed up situation. But they really didn't do a deep dive into season 2, where now the whole world, we officially hate Derek. Once they did that deep dive and showed everything, we really hate Derek. So Keyshawn calls from jail and she asks Diamond the big question we've been wanting to happen this whole season. She says, can you please take Derek out? And you know, you can feel that she's sorry for everything that she did, even though she doesn't verbally say it, but you can feel it in her energy, her spirit. I'm so sorry for everything that I put you through, and the girls in the club and everything. Can you please take Derek out? Okay, so the next thing we have Uncle Clifford and Mercedes. They're in the kitchen bringing some more food out to the party, and Mercedes tells Clifford that she's leaving. So Uncle Clifford is like, where the heck is this coming from? I don't have you. I don't have Keyshawn. I don't have Gidget. Now, mind you, they don't know that Keyshawn got locked up. That's completely unaware to them because she's in jail, and the only person she's called at this point is Diamond. So nobody knows that outside of Derek and then Diamond. So yeah, Mercedes tells her, yeah, that was my last dance. I'm going to get up out of here. So it seems like Mercedes might be taking Farrah up on her offer. And remember, she just got a $30,000 check. So $30,000 in your bank, that's a lot of money. You can chill on whatever it is you're doing. But yeah, so Uncle Clifford is really feel like this is coming out of left field, where Mercedes tells him, listen, you don't announce all your moves. You just do it and you keep it pushing. Okay, so the next thing we have roulette in the bathroom, and then we have the house mother. So if you guys don't know the house mother, that's the woman in the background that she takes care of all the girls when they're in the locker room. So the house mother approaches Roulette and she wants in on what Roulette is doing. So Roulette kind of plays dumb and says, what are you talking about? And she says, I know what you got going on. You walking around here with diamonds in your chain. Ain't no stripper walking around with diamonds in their chain unless they doing something on the side. So she tells Roulette, I want in on what you're doing. And we find out, well, in the beginning of the season, we know that this woman is transgender. This woman is a transgender woman, and she has not had the full surgery, so she still has her member down there. So she tells her, oh, it's a lot of men that want what I got. Meaning it's a lot of men who are interested and want, you know, to have relations with a transgender woman. So Roulette says to her, how do I know you're not going to snitch to Uncle Clifford? So she dips her pinky down in that white girl, and she takes a sniff of the white girl. And she shows Roulette that she's real and she's about it. And she says, it's a lot of stuff that Uncle Clifford doesn't know about me. So yeah, so it seems like the house mother is trying to do something strange for a little piece of change. And she's trying to get in on this side stuff that Roulette is out here doing on some pimping stuff. So she's trying to make some extra money and be down with Roulette. Okay, so the next thing we have Uncle Clifford goes back inside the club. Everybody else is outside dancing. Uncle Clifford and Murder, they end up having a conversation. And Uncle Clifford calls out Murder and says, "You're scared to go into it, aren't you?" And he was like, "Nah, I ain't got to ride the coattails of nobody. I can be my own man." And Uncle Clifford calls him out for being scared. And then Little Murder says, "I'm not scared. You're the one that's pushing me away. So how am I scared when I'm trying to be with you?" So guys, then Little Murder, he starts to cry. He starts to break down. And he reveals to us that Big Teak was his first DL relationship. So remember, the only people we knew about was Big Teak and Uncle Clifford. And, you know, they never emphasized how long Little Murder had been on the DL. They never really gave us that information. But now in this episode, in the finale, we finally find out that him and Big Teak met in jail. And he hooked up with Big Teak the first time in jail. And that was his first DL relationship. So now we have Big Teak and Uncle Clifford. So Little Murder also reveals that Big Teak committed suicide. So Uncle Clifford finally finds out why he came to his house bloody that night. And it wasn't anything to do with some street stuff. It was because his first lover, who was Big Teak, committed suicide. So in this moment, Little Murder, he's breaking down and he's crying. And he asks the question, did Big Teak commit suicide because of me? Meaning, did he do this because I did not want to show the world? I did not want to show us to the world. So Little Murder is going through it. He's feeling a huge sense of guilt. Did, you know, the first man he was involved with, did he kill himself because I wanted to keep us a secret? Okay. So the next thing we know, we have Big L. Big L storms in there. He's like, come here, Clifford, I gotta show you something. So Clifford's like, what the heck you talking about? Calm down. They go look at the computer. They log into the bank information. Autumn has transferred money out of the bank. Now guys, I'm keeping real. This was a L on their part, because how did you not change the banking information knowing y'all just kicked Autumn out the club? So Autumn and Clifford, they were co-owners together. How did you not change the banking information knowing that she could just log in and get it? So that was real stupid on their part. The fact that they just kicked this woman out and she still had access to the bank information. So it seems like she took out $42,000. So now the bank account is minus a negative 24,000. So she took out 42. So now it put them in a negative 24. So yeah, so the next thing we see Autumn, she's in this all white suit. She has a trash bag, I'm guessing, which is the money. And we see Autumn disappear into the crowd. So I'm really interested to see season 3, what's going on with Autumn. I know they're not just going to let her walk away with $42,000, but it seems like she's on to the next one. It seems like she's going to be making her way out of Chucalissa, and seems like she's trying to be done with these guys. Okay, so the next thing, so after they get from the office, everybody makes their way back on stage. Uncle Clifford gives him a couple shots because he's going through it. He gives him some alcohol to calm his nerves. He goes on the dance floor. He starts dancing. Next thing you know, he sees some arms wrap around his waist, and it's Little Murder. So when this first happened, guys, I was watching this like, is this like a fantasy scene? Is Little Murder really embracing Uncle Clifford on the dance floor? And this thing you know, guys, they start tongue kissing down. So next thing you know, the camera pans over and everybody is standing there like, oh my God, I'm so happy. So guys, this was not a fantasy scene. This was a real scene. Little Murder finally embraces Uncle Clifford in front of friends and family, and they're totally supportive. They're totally love it. They're in full support. And yeah, this is also has to be curious for the next season. Is Little Murder going to come out to the world, or is he going to take it step at a time? But yeah, guys, he officially comes out to all the friends and the family, all the strippers, all the girls at the club, and he lets them know that he is in love with Uncle Clifford. Okay, guys, so the last scene of the season finale, we have Diamond going out to his trunk. So remember, he just got the call from Keyshawn. Keyshawn is in jail. She could not get away. Derek is still tripping as usual. So Diamond is out rumbling through his trunk. Trying to get, get the piece, get the tools together to go do what he needs to do to Derek. So next thing you know, somebody pulls up on Diamond. They threw a couple punches. They take a knife. They stab Diamond, I believe, in his side. Then the next thing you know, they wrap some stuff around his mouth and they throw him in his trunk. So the next thing you know, we see two people. We see a man and we see a woman. The woman takes off her mask, and guess who it is, guys? It's Big Bone. So remember, guys, this whole season, everybody kept saying that Big Bone was coming for the people who hurt Montavious. So everybody kept putting Big Bone and Montavious together, and I didn't understand why. So I went back and I looked at season 1. Remember, when we first got introduced to Montavious, he came to the sheriff's office. When he came into the sheriff's office, he said, "Hey, I'm looking for my wife, Autumn. I've been traveling all the way from the South. I went to the Houston PD. I went to the Houston Police Department, and they did not help me." So remember, Montavious is from Houston, Texas. When we first got introduced to Big Bone says, "Oh, hey, everything is bigger in Texas." So that's how all the fans in the comments put it together. Big Bone is from Texas. I don't know if she specifically said Houston, but Big Bone is from Texas. And when we first got introduced to Montavious, he tells Sheriff Bailey, "I'm coming all the way from Houston, Texas, looking for my wife." So that's how everybody put it together. I was so confused of why people kept thinking Big Bone. But like I said, they both mentioned that they were from Texas. So that's how everybody put the pieces together. So yeah, so they stab Diamond, throw him in the back of the trunk. She takes off her mask, and then it's a man next to her, and he's wearing Montavious' ring. So yeah, so they pretty much tell Diamond, "We're not gonna kill you on the spot. We're gonna make you suffer." And then they close the trunk, and that is the end of the finale, guys. So yeah, so guys, this finale really still kind of left us on a cliffhanger. It didn't, from episode 9 to this episode, it didn't answer and give us everything. It definitely is keeping us on the edge of our seats to see what's happening on the next season, which is like how any show does, but it definitely didn't answer everything. But like I said, that's just going to keep us curious and keep us guessing for season 3 to come. But yeah, guys, that is the wrap up. Like I said, more than likely, guys, I'm going to make a complete separate video. I'm going to do a full breakdown of everything that went through season 2, a full season 2 breakdown. But yeah, guys, that is it. Thanks so much if you made it to the end of this video. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. That really is going to help me out a lot. Leave a comment, question, concern. Follow me on my social media.